Hello, I'm Jane Dutton with a wrap of the week's news.
This is Eyewitness News.
Dr. John Henry Steenhuisen. Did I say doctor or mister?
So help me God.
Udimuntus.
Thank you. Take a seat.
The last time a judge asked me to sit, he made me sit for 10 years.
The two outstanding comments on an outstanding day when the biggest ever executive was sworn in Cape Town. We'll get to that, but first, tomorrow, when the Boks meet the Irish at Loftus Versfeld Stadium, it's going to be very nippy. A cold front has hit the province. It's expected to plummet to 3 degrees in Pretoria. The match kicks off at 5 p.m. Will we perform, despite the weather, like the World Cup winners we are?
A rousing atmosphere is expected for the Springboks' first test against Ireland at Loftus Versfeld on Saturday. A sizable number of Irish supporters is anticipated amongst the sold-out Pretoria crowd for what promises to be a spectacle between the top 2 ranked teams in the world. Ireland will head into the game undaunted by the world champions' experienced squad. The Boks have 20 World Cup winners in their matchday 23, while the Irish have some untried players in key positions, including fullback Jamie Osborne, while the halfback pairing of scrum-half Craig Casey and fly-half Jack Crowley will have big shoes to fill in the absence of the injured Jameson Gibson-Park and the retired Johnny Sexton. The Boks haven't beaten Ireland in 8 years, and injured wing Canan Moodie says they'll have added motivation of making amends after losing the last game between these two nations at the World Cup.
It's incredibly massive. You saw when chasing the sun, how the guys got a scolding, that feeling they had after that game, being, pointed out by Coach Rashi, certain guys' efforts. I know they were hurting in that video session, so now I think he's gonna take that feeling, into this weekend and hopefully not feel that same thing after the game.
Kickoff in the nation's capital is at 5 p.m. Mawande Mateza, Eyewitness News Sport.
On Wednesday, first to take his oath of office was President Cyril Ramaphosa's second in charge, who's faced an onslaught of corruption allegations since he took on the job last year. Ramaphosa then listed all of his 32 cabinet ministers to be sworn in by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. Ramaphosa named the leader of the second biggest party in government among them.
Dr. John Henry Steenhuisen. Did I say doctor or mister?
But Steenhuisen appeared unfussed, saying he's ready to take charge of the agricultural portfolio. For the first time in the country's history, 6 cabinet portfolios have been awarded to the DA and another 6 to smaller opposition parties. Newly appointed Finance MEC in Gauteng, Lebogang Maile, says he's concerned about passing budgets as the ANC has now formed a minority government. Premier Panyaza Lesufi announced his cabinet void of any DA leaders, and this is despite the Democratic Alliance being the second largest party in the province, securing 28% of the vote. This means the ANC will need other parties in the legislature to pass budget and to implement policy.
And you can't have a stable government if you don't have a budget, and you can't pass certain laws. So, as you know, that in the legislature there are other parties, and we will engage with all the parties, including the DA, on a whole range of issues. So we are confident that we will be able to pass a budget.
Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says the door remains open for the DA to join and be included in his executive.
We'll continue to persuade each other. I don't think that we should rush it. There might be emotions running high, but we have a responsibility to run a government that is as inclusive as possible. That's what voters want. That's what voters told us. And we need to do that. But obviously we need to respect each other's views on areas where they believe that we are not transparent.
The National Prosecuting Authority has dropped all charges against popular TV presenter and rapper Molemo JubJub Marokganye. Marokganye was accused of rape, attempted murder and assault allegedly committed between 2006 and 2009. The charges were brought by 4 women in 2002, one of whom is his ex-girlfriend. According to the NPA, the charges were dropped because there are no reasonable prospects of a successful prosecution.
The decision follows the careful consideration of the information that was made available to the prosecution through representations that were submitted by the defense, as well as the prosecutor's report and the perusal of the evidence in the case docket.
Our exclusive story on the spike in the kidnapping of Portuguese butchers in South Africa was trending this week.
Kidnapping for ransom. It's not something unusual in South Africa and specifically Gauteng. But there is a growing concern about a recent spate of kidnappings that are happening in this province, where Portuguese South African nationals and specifically butchery owners are being targeted in a spate of kidnappings in recent. Since last year in January, Eyewitness News can inform you that there have been 20 butchery owners in the province of Gauteng that have been kidnapped. In some instances, they have been released. In some instances, they have been rescued by the anti-kidnapping task team. And we know of at least one of those individuals or victims that was murdered. The ransom amounts range from 400,000 to 3.5 million rand. And at least 9 of the cases that EWN is aware of, 10 million rand ransom demand was asked for by the suspects or the kidnappers in many of these cases. The families are complying. As of last week, there were 3 kidnappings of butchery owners in a space of 72 hours. Most of those victims have not yet been found, while the kidnappers are in negotiations with the family. Now, Gauteng itself, as I said earlier, it's nothing unusual for kidnappings to happen, but there's been a recent spike in cases. Last year alone, there were more than 2,000 cases of kidnappings recorded in the province of Gauteng. Now, that accounts for almost half of the total number of kidnappings in the entire country, which is just close to 5,000 cases in total.
Corrupt police officers are often involved. Adolf Ndisi, a constable from Bramley Police Station, was arrested along with 6 others and faced charges of kidnapping, extortion, attempted murder and robbery with aggravating circumstances after a Portuguese butchery owner was kidnapped and rescued in October east of Johannesburg. Even if you pay the ransom, the victim's safety cannot be guaranteed.
And while in many of the cases, kidnapping ransom demands are quite excessive, and we're talking about anything from 5 to 10 million rand, there are sort of copycat kidnapping syndicates that are starting to pop up in certain parts of the province. And these copycat syndicates are kidnapping people for far less and demanding far less. In some instances, we're aware of 5 to 10,000 rand being asked for in ransom demands. And these are affecting people, ordinary South Africans, and not necessarily the higher or middle to higher class South Africans or business owners or executives for that matter.
And we're celebrating 2 South African stars, Tyler and Makadzi, who won big at the Black Entertainment Television Awards in the US.
I think I'm here because of the hard work. Like you said, I started from the street. I was performing by the taverns, By then people, they used to think maybe I'm not normal because, it was not like, they were not used to it to see an artist performing in front of the shops. But because I believed in myself and I loved my craft, and also my supporters, they didn't make me feel like it's not good to do that. They have to push me, or I must go harder and harder until this day. So everything is all about God and believing in myself. And again, I just want to see myself counting more blessings because I deserve everything.
Guys, I did not prepare anything, but I just want to say thank you so much to my Tigers, my family, my team. Thank you to BT for always pushing the culture. Come on.
And that's it from me, Jane Dutton. Don't forget to download the EWN and the Prime Media Plus app.
Eyewitness News, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, log on to ewn.co.za or ewn.mobi.